going.
Got it.
Right. Close a few things out. Okay, so you've watched some videos. This is where you sign in, obviously. When you manually sign into Appulate, this is your dashboard. So this is where all of your insureds will live. This is where you'll search for them. Mine's empty. I haven't had any trainings today, so that's why you don't see anything on mine. But this is where your insureds will live.
Okay.
Just a few. I just want to make sure you have some things set up on your computer. So if you want to follow along with me, feel free to. But the first thing we want to do is I want to make sure that you have Appulate Uplink. Do you by chance have like a PDF document you can open really quick and just click your print button and look at your printers?
Yeah, I can do that. Yes.
You want to just make sure Appulate Uplink is a printer option for you, because this will allow you to bridge over your Accord forms into Appulate. So it takes away the need to rekey any of the data you include on your Accord forms into the Appulate system.
Okay. Yes, it shows up in the printer options.
Perfect. Okay. We will just go over that. And then, so the next thing we want to make sure that you have downloaded is Weblink. So if you go up to this top dashboard under Tools, click on Appulate Weblink. Do you have this box right here that says Weblink add-on is installed properly?
I have both of them. I have the Weblink, I have the Uplink.
Okay, perfect. I just wanted to make sure, because so Weblink is taking duplicate data from Appulate and transferring it into carrier portals. It kind of creates your submission without you having to do a ton of the manual work.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, and then just to review markets, so your market list up here, if you click on selected, you want to think as your agency's private library of markets. I'm sure you guys have tons of markets in here already, but just to review them, these are markets that you represent or are appointed with. And then the last thing you want to do, and I highly recommend not skipping over this, it's a little labor of love, but I promise it is beneficial. If you click on your name in the upper right-hand corner, and if you've already done this, fantastic. Down at the bottom is this market login section. This is where you can input your username, password, and if applicable, a producer code. So this will automatically allow Appulate to sign in to those carrier portals to start that submission.
Okay.
It will automatically default to use shared login, but if you have your own personal login for that portal, just drop this down and change it to use my login. That way nobody has access to your credentials.
All right, perfect.
Okay, so we're going to get into the workflow of Appulate, and I'm going to start with my Accord form, but I always like to ask people before I open up my Accord form to not focus on the line of business I'm using for my example, but how I'm processing the submission instead. I just say that because regardless of the line of business that you're working on, the workflow in Appulate will be identical. So I'm going to do a work comp submission, which usually requires pretty minimum information to be filled out, but it wouldn't change if you'd been doing a BOP, a business auto, cyber liability, whatever line of business you do. It may require more information to be filled out, but it'll look exactly the same.
Okay.
So we're going to start with Uplink, and there's two ways to utilize Uplink. First, you can just open up that Accord form wherever you keep it. It might be in your agency management system. Mine's on my desktop. You click your print button, and then make sure Appulate Uplink is your printer destination. Click print, and then just confirm your credentials with this pop-up.
Okay.
And then the second way to utilize Uplink is a popular shortcut. You simply just right-click on that Accord form and choose Uplink from the drop-down menu. And then again, just validate your credentials.
All right.
Some people like shortcuts.
I'm sorry. I have a question.
No, that's okay.
Okay. So if it's affiliated with our management system, so we can directly use that to take the documents to Uplink, to Appulate?
Yes. I believe you guys have Nexture as well.
I do.
Right?
We do, yes. Yeah.
Yes. So you can take your Accord forms from Nexture, print them into Appulate. Another nice thing about Nexture, and this is the only one that does it, is you can actually integrate from Appulate back into Nexture.
All right. From Appulate back. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, that's a great question. So Yeah, so some people like shortcuts, some people don't like shortcuts.
Uh-huh.
It's really up to you how you utilize it.
All right.
Drink a coffee. Okay, so once you confirm your credentials, your workstation will open Appulate and
Okay.
ask you to confirm what line of
Ah,
business you want to
okay.
work on.
All right.
So this, if you drop this down, I uplinked an Accord 130. So the system is smart enough to know that my Accord 130 most likely applies to these 5 different lines of business.
Uh-huh.
But if it doesn't fit what you need, you also have access to all of the lines of businesses.
How did it identify the type of document?
So it is mapped on the Accord. So we have already
Okay.
mapped it to recognize
Okay.
what Accord form is being uplinked.
All right. Perfect.
So if you've been doing a 126, it's most likely general liability. It really just depends on which one you're doing.
All right. Perfect.
And then we'll click continue. And then we're taken to the smart Q&A section.
Okay.
So a few things before we dive into a submission. This tab right here, this is your master insured tab. It was automatically created based off of the information that you provide on the Accord form. There's also a contact section in here. So Nicole, I included her as a contact on my Accord form, so she populated right here. But if you forget to add a contact or you have multiple contacts that wouldn't fit on your Accord, to the right-hand side, you can add as many as you need. This tab right here, this is your submission tab. It's labeled with a line of business that you're working on, the effective date, and the current status of your submission. So if you ever need to change your effective date like I do, because we're way past November 15th, just click on the date. You can type it in or use the calendar, whichever you prefer, and change it to whatever date you need.
All right.
If you do change the date, all currently existing forms and any newly added forms will automatically update with that new effective date. So you don't have to go back to those original Accords that you uplinked and change the date yourself. Appulate will do it for you. So if I go to the left and go into my forms, I'm going to just show you. I had 11/15 on there. And it automatically updated with the new effective date.
Oh, perfect. So this is the one that we uploaded, right?
Yes. And I'll get to the other form in just a second. So the last thing I like to do, I just like to add my contact to the main record to begin with in case I need to email them or send them a questionnaire, whatever the case is. So just go to the right-hand side, click on no main contact, and there's Nicole again. So I'm just going to add her.
Okay.
Any questions so far?
No.
Okay. So now we're in the form section. We'll just review this. So there's my original Accord 130. If you do not uplink an Accord 125, it will automatically create it for you every single time. Any of the data from the 130 that's duplicate on the 125 will transfer over for you, so you don't have to do that manual work again. If you know you might need more forms, if you click on View All Forms, once you click, the list shown will be those that apply or could apply to the line of business that you're working on. So if you know you might need more forms, just click on this little box and it's added for you. And again, all of that data, if any of it is duplicate, will transfer over onto those Accords.
Perfect. So I have a question, I'm sorry. But let's suppose Accord 133 needs more information than 130. It will duplicate most of the information, but does it require more, like additional information that we have to provide?
Possibly. It really depends on, so as you're working in the system, so clearly there's not much information in the system. So if I actually go back to the Smart Q&A section, I haven't really filled out much in this underwriting section. So it's really, if you start, like if they move their location and if you change that, those Accords will also update. So anything that you update will go back onto those Accords and update. But right now we don't have a ton of information in the system.
All right, perfect. So, filling up the Smart Q&A section will help you fill up all the forms that you can possibly fill up, right?
Yeah, Kind of. So
Okay.
once you add your markets, and I'll get
Uh-huh.
into this too, but once you add your markets,
Uh-huh.
depending on the markets that you choose, more
Uh-huh.
questions will appear because you have to answer those questions to get to that market. So
All right.
maybe that question from that market is on the Accord form. It will automatically fill in for you once you fill out that question.
All right. Thank you.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so now I'm just going to talk about supplementals for markets. So
Uh-huh.
supplemental forms are added to your submission based off of two factors. The
Uh-huh.
first is the line of business that you're working on, and the second are the markets that you've selected. So we're going to add
Okay.
our markets again by clicking on this little plus sign right here. And then you'd add the markets that you want to submit your risk to. I'm going to show you the 4 different ways that you can submit to within Appulate.
Okay.
There's also this open brokerage market section right here. So I like to take a minute to talk about this. So you can submit and get a quote back from any of these markets you see right here without having an appointment with them. So if you're ever having a hard
Okay.
time placing something, or you're curious to what their product or pricing is like, feel free to
All right.
utilize this section. It is based off of the line of business and the location of your insured. So depending on the location or line of business, some of these will disappear.
Okay.
If you like the quote, the insured wants to bind that quote, that's when you just have to reach out to that market to get an appointment with them.
All right. So to bind, like to get a quote, that's fine. But to bind the policy, you have to get the appointment.
Correct.
All right. Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So now that my markets have been added, all of the supplemental forms that apply to my desired markets and my line of business have been added for me. And all of the data for my original Accord 130 has been dispersed to these supplementals you see here. So Westlake GA, for example. I open this up. You can see it's fairly complete based off of the bridge data for my Accord 130 and saving me some time by not having to start completely fresh and filling this out manually.
Okay.
If you are ever in here and you add a market and you know that they have a form that they require and it's not in our system, send me an email. We can get it added. We just need agents to share that information with us. We kind of take it on a request basis.
All right.
So if you ever need to edit any of these forms, let's say I want to edit my 130 because I don't have my limits on there, to the right-hand side, you'll click this edit button. And this takes you to a line-by-line option. Most agents prefer to see the form. So go up here and change it to inline. And this takes you to the form view.
All right.
Anywhere you see a pencil is where you can edit information.
Oh,
So I'm going to fill out my limits really quick to show you. I also did not have limits on my supplemental form. But if something is duplicate on a form that is on another form, that will also automatically populate for you as well. So you don't have to go back and fill out the limits out each time.
So it doesn't matter which form you start filling up. So the relevant data will be copied to all the forms.
Correct.
All right.
So in the form section, there's also additional options to the right-hand side by clicking on these 3 dots. It reveals the option to send via email, via fax, sign forms, or request signatures from your insured, or you can send a questionnaire to your insured to complete. You also have the option to send multiple forms to your insured to complete by going back into the Smart Q&A section over here. And towards the right-hand side is the Send Q&A option. If you click on this option allows you to select exactly what you want your insured to answer specifically. So let's say you have some information for your insured, but you're missing some things and you need them to fill in the blanks. Well, a lot of people have to compile an email, compose an email, send it out, your insured answer those questions, and then you manually have to do that work. So this option allows you to select exactly what you want your insured to answer specifically. So I'm going to choose all my markets, maybe just required. You'll click OK, and I just need an email address. And then you'll click Save, and then the email will automatically generate for you.
Okay.
So just a quick side note, since you haven't really been in here much, make sure you configure your mail server. I believe Mark has this already. You
Yeah.
just need to input your credentials.
Yeah.
Okay. So your email generates for you. And once you click send on this email, the system will send this link to your insured. So they will just click this mobile friendly link. They can open it up on their phone, tablet, computer, whatever device they use these days. Complete the questions that are presented to them in a clear and clean Q&A view. Once the questions have been completed, you'll receive an email notification that your insured updated the questionnaire. And when you log back into Appulate, you'll see that all of the data that your insured provided has automatically saved in the system for you. So again, instead of all that manual work composing an email, sending it off, they answer it, you manually have to input that information. You just send them this link, they fill it out, and it saves for you.
Okay.
All right. Any questions before
I have
we start working on this?
So when you send out the email and they fill up the information that you require, does it automatically go to Smart Q&A section?
So they will see if it's so for the one I sent, there's only one required question. So they would only see this right here.
Yeah.
They wouldn't see any other part. They would just see this question in this box.
Yeah. Okay. So what I'm asking is obviously they're not going to see everything because obviously this will be confusing for them. But every required question that pops up for them when they fill it out, so it will automatically fill out the Smart Q&A for us.
Correct.
All right.
I can show you if you want to see it really quick. It's actually pretty easy. Give me just a second. Send it to my... Give me a second. Okay, so this is what the insured would see. They'll just click on this questionnaire, and then this is all they see. They don't see all of that other stuff in the background. So let's say I'm going to type in 5. We'll go next. There's nothing else required. They can if they want to, but it's not required. Complete and send. So now I'll go back in, refresh this. Hold on. So now you can see that 5 populated back.
Yeah. And in case there were more unanswered required questions, so they would be seeing more questions on their end.
Correct.
All right.
If you wanted them to answer all of these questions that are in here, then you can send that to them. But, you know, most agents don't make their insureds do all of the questions. But anything that is blank in here, they would answer. Good question, though.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to start working on our first submission. And the first market we're going to look at is Westlake, GA. And Westlake, GA has this little clover image next to their name, and this represents an Appulate style submission. Appulate style submission markets allow you to complete the entire rate, quote, and bind process for that market entirely within Appulate. Some markets will have this lightning bolt next to their name, and this represents a live API for that market, which means you have an opportunity to receive an instant bindable quote from that market as long as the submission doesn't need to be referred back to underwriting. So it is depending on your questions, such as like if there's a claims history or something like that. But if it's a pretty basic, you know, if they've never had claims, it's basic, there's a good chance you'll get an instant quote back from them. So Appulate style submission can be both direct carriers as well as MGAs or brokers. The only difference of workflow is direct carriers do not have submarket lists, while MGAs or brokers may have submarkets for you. So using Westlake GA as our example, we're being shown what markets they can approach on our behalf based on work comp. We also have the power to select and deselect from this submarket list. So
Okay.
essentially, we're telling our MGA or broker exactly what markets we want them to approach on our behalf. If you don't know who
Okay.
you want to go to, feel free to check all of these boxes. It's really up to you who you want to
Okay.
market this to.
Okay.
So once your submarkets are selected, in the middle of the screen are these colorful letter indicators. And these letter indicators can provide you with valuable information specific to your submission. So if I hover over this red D, which stands for decline, the market is telling us why they're declining this. So down here, it's telling me the FEIN is already in the system. That's just because me and my training counterpart use this FEIN for every training we do. So it recognizes it.
Okay.
So I'm just going to move a few numbers around. So I'm just going to click on this. And because the link is live and dynamic, the system takes the guesswork out of where a question is located and highlights it in a red box for me. So I don't have to go searching through these tabs, looking for these tiny FEIN letters. It takes me straight to it.
Okay.
So I'm just going to move a few numbers around. Okay. So now that I edited the FEIN, the letter indicator has updated in real time, changing from a red D for decline to an orange A for pending acceptance. And if I hover over this again, I can continue clicking on these questions. These are questions that the markets are making mandatory to answer. So this is all coming from the market. Once you answer a question, it does get taken off this list.
Okay.
So in this section, I like to tell people there's a couple different ways you can answer these questions. You can, of course, continue going through here, take you straight to it. Or if you notice up in this tab, there's a red number. That's the amount of questions in this section that's being required to be answered. They're highlighted with a red asterisk. So I tend to find myself kind of just staying in this section. It's really up to you.
Okay.
If you go through all of these questions and you know that the answer is no, there's a shortcut to the right-hand side. You can mark them all no at one time.
All right, perfect.
I'm just going to go through these and answer them. Do you have any questions for me while I'm going through these?
No, I'm good for now.
Okay, last thing, I just need to add my contact. There's Nicole. When you add your contact, you have to assign a role.
Title,
So maybe Nicole is the owner of the business, but maybe she also takes care of billing. If this person has multiple roles, there's no cap on how many roles you can assign them.
Perfect. And is it important to assign all the roles, like list down all the things that they're doing, or just one will work?
It depends on the market. So some of the markets have specific roles that need to be listed, like in one, I think one of them, I can't remember which market it is, but it's I think insurance inspector or something like that. So, but the market will tell you what's missing and why.
All right.
Okay, so now that I answered all of the missing and required questions, I'm going to scroll back up and you can see that all of my letter indicators are now all green. Green is good. It's what you want every time you do a submission, because once they're all green, it's going to allow you to click on request quote and it gets sent off to the underwriter.
All right, perfect.
And I'm in a testing environment, so my system's a little slower than you'll see on your side. So I apologize.
Right.
Just bear with me while it loads.
No, that's perfect.
Okay. So since the API in AmTrust is live in Appulate, I was actually able to receive an instant bindable quote from them based off of my answers, while the other submarket in Encino will need to have a quote uploaded by the underwriter. But when the underwriter uploads a quote on their end, you will get an email letting you know that the quote is in the Appulate system for you.
Okay.
I don't know if you work with AmTrust or have in the past. I just like to tell people this is the exact same quote format for AmTrust you would normally receive on their website or from an underwriter. So, and this isn't just AmTrust, it's any quote in our system. It doesn't change from what you're used to. So it'll be exactly the same format as what you normally see. So let's say you send this off to your insured, they like it, they want to bind it. So we're going to go to the right-hand side and refer to this orange request to bind button.
Okay.
Ours is currently orange because it's telling us that we have to take care of some binding requirements first, because Appulate file submission, everything is done in our system. So hover over this and it tells you exactly what they need. They need to get the signed Accord 130, and I have to upload loss runs.
All right.
So I'm going to start with my Accord form. So I'm going to go to the left-hand side, click on Forms.
Mm-hmm.
In line with my 130, all the way to the right-hand side are those three little dots.
Mm-hmm.
You'll select Sign. You would assign yourself as the agency representative, or if you wanted to assign it to a producer or somebody else in your office that has a login with Appulate, you can drop this down, and anybody that has a login with Appulate will populate for you. I know you have a lot of people in your office,
Yeah.
so your list will be much longer.
Yeah.
And then your insured's information will be down below. I'm just going to deselect them for today and click OK. Once you click OK, the form will then auto-populate for you to sign. It's kind of like DocuSign, just in our system. And if you had an insured, it sends them a mobile-friendly link via email. Once your insured clicks the signature link, they'll be taken through this exact same signature process I'm going to show you right now.
Okay.
So to start signing, you'll click on this jumping green arrow, which takes you to the bottom of the Accord form to this orange box to click on. You'll type in your name. Choose a fancy font if you want, or just save an insert.
All right.
Another jumping green arrow to finalize this. And then you do have to check this box to agree to the terms and conditions of your signature and click sign. Once yourself as the producer or your insured signs the form, those signatures will auto-populate onto the form for you.
Okay.
All signatures obtained in Appulate are legal and binding in court, and an audit trail of all signatures will generate. So if you ever want to download that signed form or the audit trail, we'll just go back to that Accord 130, click this arrow to drop it down, and to the right-hand side is your signed form and your audit trail.
All right.
Any questions on signed forms?
No, this was pretty clear. Yeah.
Okay, so now we will proceed with loss runs. So we're going to go to the left-hand side, click on loss runs. And you see Agora West right here, and that's because I included prior carrier information on my Accord form. So when I originally uplinked those Accords, it populated in here, so I don't have to do any of that work. But if you need to change anything, whatever the case, click on Edit Insurance History, and you can edit anything right here. So let's say we just forgot Travelers. I'm going to type in a little bit of Travelers, and then I'm going to choose from this drop-down list.
All right.
And then I'll just delete these ones. We'll click Save. So let's say you have loss runs and you're ready to attach them. Just go to the right-hand side, click those three little dots.
Can I ask a question? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
How did you add Travelers? Can you please go over it again?
Yep.
Edit
so
insurance
you'll just
history.
Click on edit.
Okay.
Yep. Edit insurance history. It takes you to these years.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's say they were with Travelers again.
All right.
And then you do have to fill it out in the section year by year. But once you get to that main page, it will combine those years for you.
Okay. So depending if you have it with the same carrier, so that's going to be combined. But if you have it with different, so those are going to be different, right?
Correct. Good question. Okay, so we attached loss runs for Travelers. That's just because maybe it was easy and we got loss runs. But let's say you have a new business prospect and their current agent isn't giving you the loss runs. So as a premium client in our system, you can actually request loss runs on behalf of your insured. Okay. So we're going to use Agora West. To the right-hand side is the Send Loss Runner button.
Okay.
The request type will automatically default to letter of authorization. And that's because this is a really it's the most commonly used request type in our system. And it does require your insured to sign this letter because ultimately this is a letter from the insured directly to the insurance carrier, giving the carrier to return loss runs to you as the agent. So it's completely cutting out their current agent. It's a letter from the insured. It's not from you as the agent because carriers would tell you, no, you can't do this. But ultimately, it's from the insured, which is their client, really. So if you drop this down, we also have a broker of record letter, agency loss run request letter, and an insured loss run request letter, but I'm going to talk you through letter of authorization. So starting at the top, Appulate will populate your insured's information. If this is ever red, just click on this little pencil and it'll tell you what's missing. It's followed by the market that you're requesting loss runs from, including an editable destination. So if you click on this pencil and drop this down, Appulate does our best to have the correct fax number and email addresses for loss run requests, but when they change that or add, region or I don't know, different lines of business for loss run requests, they don't tell us. So you do have a little diligence on your part to make sure that this destination is correct and going to the place that you need to request loss runs from.
All right, so we have to cross-check it with our system, like the contact information that we have with ourselves.
Yes.
Okay.
And then going back to the letter, it's followed by the policy number and the policy period for the insured. And then it concludes with the body of the letter itself, which provides the market with a return destination, being yourself as the agent. And then your insured's information will be down below.
Okay.
So once you click send on this, it will send a link to your insured via email, or it's mobile friendly, email, phone, tablet, whatever they use. In order for this to work, though, they do have to open up the link and sign electronically. They can't print it out and wet sign it. They have to sign electronically, because once they sign it, Appulate will automatically send this signed letter out to this destination.
All right.
I also like to tell people to check this box right here. So let's say in 10 days, you don't have those loss runs back after the signed letter has been sent out. In 10 days, Appulate will send another signed letter out on your behalf to that market, requesting those loss runs again.
All right.
So we'll click send and we'll click OK. Appulate will track and timestamp all actions related to loss runners. So right now, this is just sent to Nicole. She needs to sign it. Once she signs it, this little green, this circle will be completely green and it'll say signed by insured. And then another line that says sent to this destination. If you're having a hard time getting your insured to sign it, click this little bell to the right-hand side and it sends them a reminder to sign it.
Oh, okay.
So let's say, Appulate will track and timestamp all actions. The only thing it does not track is when you get those loss runs back from the market. So those are going to get sent back to your email as you had in the letter. So when you get those loss runs back, to shut off that automatic reminder to send another signed letter out, just attach your loss runs by clicking on those three dots and uploading your loss run.
Okay.
I know it's a lot of information. Any questions on loss runners?
No, I asked you questions in between. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I just asked them right away.
No,
so
that's
thank
okay.
you.
That's good.
Okay.
Not everybody does. Okay, so we uploaded the loss runs. That was our final binding requirement. So if we wanted to bind this AmTrust quote, we would just go and click on this green request to bind button, and then it gets sent off to the underwriter to bind coverage.
All right.
All right, so that's the Appulate style submission workflow. Any questions before we move on and review ESubmission style?
No, everything's perfect.
Okay, so ESubmission style markets, this is this globe with a paper scroll in front of it. And they're still partners of Appulate, just like Appulate style submission markets are. The difference is ESubmission markets have carrier portals that they still want you to continue using, and that's absolutely fine. Appulate will bridge over duplicate data housed in the system to that carrier portal for you.
Okay.
So Arrowhead is our example for ESubmission. We're going to go to the right-hand side, click on Request Quote. The system will then update your submission status to Submission Initiated, and a new button shows up that says Finish Submission. We're going to click on Finish Submission, and the system will open the carrier portal. I didn't click on anything because I had my credentials in there, so it automatically logged me in.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And it'll populate all duplicate data from the Appulate system to the carrier portal for you. You want to make sure you review your submission and answer any questions that are blank in here. So if they're blank, it's either because it's not filled out in Appulate or it's not a question that Appulate asks.
Okay.
So you do want to make sure you review your.
I'm sorry.
No,
Is it important to fill out the questions over here as well? And let's suppose the insured mailing address the same as the location address. So is it important that we fill out these questions over here?
It would be, because I'm sure carriers probably wouldn't let you proceed
Okay.
on their website. So once you leave Appulate into a carrier portal, it's kind of business as normal as you're used to doing in their portal. It's just as you click from one screen to the next, Appulate will turbocharge your submission by populating duplicate data in real time. So there might be some blank questions in here to just answer. It's probably carrier dependent, so it really just depends on the carrier.
Okay.
So on eSubmission, you'll still obtain your quote as you're normally accustomed to. So it could be through email or downloading on their website. But once you get a quote outside of Appulate, you want to make sure that you load it back into the system. So we're going to go pretend that we got our quote on Arrowhead, go back into Appulate. To the right-hand side, click those three little dots to upload your quote. Give it a second to load. I will explain this quote markup in the next submission style. So let's say you bind this quote on Arrowhead's portal. You want to make sure you go to the right-hand side and mark this as bound. The reason why you want to do this is because this ensures that your reports are accurate, as well as preparing the system for next year's renewal. Appulate can actually kickstart your renewal process by bringing forward all the information that you did in the year before and populating it into the new term for you. But to do this, you have to upload the quote and mark it as bound if you do in fact bind with that market directly.
Okay.
Any questions on eSubmission?
No, just one. When we went to the Arrowhead website, that is where we got the code from, right? And then we have to come back and upload it here.
Correct.
All right, perfect.
So the only quote that you will receive in Appulate is any market with the clover.
The clover, yes, got it.
Okay, so next is Weblink submission, and that's this more colorful globe you see next to Builders. And it's extremely similar to eSubmission. What makes them different is eSubmission markets are considered in-network and Weblink markets are considered out-of-network. But the actual submission process will look really similar because they're both bridging duplicate data from Appulate to the carrier portal for you.
All right.
So for Weblink Builders is our example. We'll go to the right-hand side, click on Request Quote. But instead of clicking on Finish Submission like we did with eSubmission, the system will open up the carrier window. Again, not clicking on anything. It's just doing its thing. And you'll see the system start to run through the motions of autofilling data. Weblink does take a little bit longer, so try not. A lot of people want to click, but don't click. Just wait.
Okay. Okay.
Once it pauses, that's when you can start to fill out any additional data that wasn't duplicate. So county and total subcontractors costs, it's either, again, not filled out in Appulate or not a question that Appulate asks. So just make sure as you go from one screen to the next, fill out any unanswered questions. But same with eSubmission, it'll, as you click from one screen to the next, it'll autofill that data in real time. On this one, again, once you obtain your quote outside of Appulate, bring it back into our system, go to the right-hand side, those three little dots, upload your quote. Do you guys by chance use IPFS for finance agreements?
Not that I know of yet. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's okay. So just skip this quote markup page. This has to do with Imperial finance agreement or Imperial financing. So
is that the same as Cypress funding? Because we do use that.
It's not. That one is different.
Okay.
So if you end up binding this quote directly on Builder's website, upload that quote is in here, and then make sure you mark it as bound for the same reasons as eSubmission, accurate reports, as well as kickstarting your renewal process. So eSubmission and Weblink extremely similar besides them looking different. eSubmission really just has that one extra step by clicking on Finish Submission.
Okay.
Any questions on that one?
Nope, thank you.
Okay, so the last one is email submission, and that's this little envelope right here.
Okay.
The first thing you want to do is I recommend adding your underwriter first. So ACE is our example. We're going to go and click on select. If you drop this down, Appulate does have a list of underwriters in our system. If they are not in here, you can add them right here and they will save for future use. Just know that your underwriter doesn't change from who you normally work with. So who you work with now is who you will continue working with.
All right, sure.
So once you add your underwriter, you want to click on request quote and your email submission automatically generates for you. So Appulate will attach some documents for me, but I'm missing some loss runs. Obviously, I want to include those on my submission. Don't click on upload file, click on add existing, and you can add whatever documents are in the system for this insured to the submission this way. Just click the box, just for sake of adding documents, click save, and they're added for me right here.
All right.
So let's say you're within the acceptable time frame of this market and you're ready to get your submission out. Just go down here and click on submit now. But my favorite feature in the system as a prior account manager, let's say you market an account and you're outside of the time frames for a market. Let's say you're 2 weeks early. Well, in 2 weeks, you really don't want to come back to this account and have to do another submission. You just want to move on to your next account. So what you can do in Appulate is you can actually schedule an email submission to be sent out at a specific date and time. So we're going to go down here and click on schedule submission. This will give you your location's current date and time. So I'm going to use the calendar tool. It's my favorite. I'm going to do January 21st. I'm going to change the time to 12:01 a.m. Insurance magic hour to block the market that morning.
Okay.
You'll click done. And then you'll click schedule and submit. Once you click schedule and submit, the system will update the status for that market to scheduled. Another place I like to show people is to the left-hand side is this activity section. So not only is this a time-stamped log of everything you've done so far regarding your submission for this insured, you can see that the last activity is the scheduling of my email. So when I get into the office on January 21st, let's say 8 o'clock in the morning, I log into Appulate. There's going to be a new line activity in here. That's the sending of my email submission to ACE. So again, I don't have to come back and revisit this account. It's just sent out for me.
All right. This is great.
Yes, it's probably my favorite feature. People at Appulate don't get it because a lot of them weren't agents before. So I'm just like, no, like marketing accounts can be a nightmare. So if you, I know, so next year, if you go into options, I believe it's options, there's going to be an export button and it might not even be under options. There might be an export button out of here.
Okay.
But if you change anything in Appulate that you want next year to know, you can export it back into next year and it'll update next year.
Okay.
If you need to, I don't think you need to with next year since it goes back in and it'll document for you. But just in case you need to, you can export this log via export to Excel up here. So if you ever want to just keep track of it, you can export it to Excel to this activity log.
Okay.
And that's really it. Do you have any questions for me? I know it's a lot of information, but you asked great questions.
Thank you. Right now, I really don't because I've asked everything that I couldn't get during the whole webinar. So I'm good for now.
Okay. I know you've watched video after video probably, but in this help section, there is this video tutorial section. I highly recommend it to everybody. They're short little clips. So let's say you need help walking through those submission styles. We have videos on those submission styles.
Okay. E-submission. So perfect.
If you ever get stuck, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to guide you as well. So if you get stuck working on something, you can schedule something with me and you can take the reins and kind of do those steps yourself.
Yeah, that would be great.
Just background.
Okay, that'd be great. If I get it work, then
yeah,
I might contact you if I don't get through with it.
Yeah, no, that's great. if you ever want to just kind of sit back and watch me do the system again, click on help and click on webinars. I host webinars every Tuesday for premium clients. So you can kind of just sit back and watch the system again. You know, repetitive nature, it's pretty, you know, you start picking up on things as you repetitively listen and do things. So feel free to sign up for any Tuesday training. There's no cost.
Okay, perfect.
And if you have questions, just reach out to me. I'm happy to jump on the phone or on a Zoom with you and help you out.
Perfect. This was great. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So I do have to convert the Zoom to a YouTube link. So once my marketing person does that, I will email this over to you. Make sure I have the email address correct. Hold on. It is hjamal@excelsure.com.
Perfect. Yes.
Perfect. Once I get that, I will get that over to you. And again, if you need help, just reach out.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great weekend.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.